with certainty, I've been in politics all my life, I can tell you with certainty that the pendulum swings. And it's not going to be long at all when it's going to swing back in our favor, and we're going to have some great Republican victories all over this nation. And that's because you stand for freedom and liberty and the things that have made this country great and have given us the best standard of living of any people in this world. Now let me get to the speaker here tonight. Ron Paul, first of all, I'll tell you a couple of things you might not know. When he was in high school, he was the Pennsylvania State 220-yard dash champion. And then when he was in Congress, he's the only member of Congress, even now, who actually hit a home run over the fence in the congressional baseball game. He's a pretty good athlete. But Dr. Paul went to Gettysburg College. He was raised in Pennsylvania. His family had a small dairy. He then went to Duke Medical School, moved to Texas, started a well, first of all, he was a flight surgeon in the Air Force for 5 years. Very patriotic man, Dr. Paul. Then he set up a medical practice in Texas and was very successful. He served in Congress starting in the late 70s and early 80s and served for 6 years, and then he went back to Texas for a while. And then in 1996, he was elected to Congress again, and I had the privilege of serving for 16 years with Dr. Paul. And during that time, I'm proud to say that I don't believe there's any two members of Congress who voted more alike than Dr. Ron Paul and I. But the thing that impressed me the most about this man, even people on the other side of the aisle, or even some Republicans, who didn't necessarily agree with Ron Paul and everything, they had the greatest respect for this man because they knew he had the highest integrity, that he was honest, that he was sincere, that he was courageous, that he, if he thought that something violated the Constitution, if he was the only member of Congress who was opposed to it, he opposed it with all his might. This is it. All through my career, I have been inspired by that, and many millions around this world have been inspired by that song, The Impossible Dream. And you know, in that song, it says that it urges you to run where the brave dare not go. It urges you to right the unrightable wrong and to be better far than you are. And it ends, that song ends by saying, and the world will be better for this, that one man scorned and covered with scars still strove with his last ounce of courage to reach that unreachable star. That song, to me, epitomizes Dr. Ron Paul. He has spent his life trying to right the unrightable wrongs and to make this world a better place. And through those years, he has been scorned and he has been criticized by all the national media outlets. But I can tell you, this world would be a much better place today if we had more people like Ron Paul. Say how much I respect and admire this man, and it's a very special privilege and a high honor for me to present to you Congressman Ron Paul.
Thank you very much. It's great to be among friends. It seems like a lot of friends around here. And Jimmy, thank you for that very nice introduction. Overly done, of course. But you know, I met Jimmy's son, John, but I knew Jimmy's father, John, when I was in Congress in the 70s. So I know Duncan family pretty well now. So. My family, nobody came with me today. My wife travels a lot with me, but she was busy. She had a few grandchildren to pay attention to. We've been married 56 years. And we have 19 grandchildren, a few things like that. So, yes, I deal in politics, but I know where the real values are, and it's in family. So, but it's a delight to be here because, you know, you actually get applause. In Washington, I only had one person that would ever come to the speech, and it was Jimmy Duncan. He's everybody showed up. He actually did listen to it. I said, Jimmy, why do you listen to this stuff? He said, well, I want to hear what you say. Yeah, but you've heard it all before. But we have been good friends, and lately I've been pretty busy. You know, everybody say, oh, you're retired, and a few of my supporters, don't ever let them say that. You're busy, you're doing this. But I said, well, just say I'm retired from Congress. But I do travel a lot. I've been on a speaking tour. I'm still delighted to be invited to college campuses because I think that's where the action is. Young people. The other day I was kidding, you know, in the campaign, we did rather well, and we scored very high in that younger generation. So kiddingly, out of the crowd, I was saying to the group, it must have been a college crowd because I wouldn't say this at any crowd. I said, you know, what I'd like to do is change the rules. Let's have only voting for those under 30. Maybe we would win the election. And somebody came up to me after he was rather annoyed, and he said, I'm 32 and I've been canceled out. So, but very often, though, I'll bring that up because I do emphasize, I think it's so important about a younger generation. If you're truly going to change a country, they have to be with it. But I'll look out and I'll see half of them young people and half a little bit older, and I'll say, well, then I have to cover myself. And I will add that, you know, if you're not young and in college, you have to be young in spirit if you want to participate in the revolutionary changes that have to come from this country because it's ideological that we have to have. So people have to be willing to change. If we're old in our ways and just are locked in, and we've done it this way for 30 years, the Republican Party was established by certain individuals 20, 30, or 40 years ago. We never change our way and we just drift and act more like Democrats. Nothing will happen. That is why we have to be willing to look at this ideologically and change people's minds, and then we can change our country. But you know, we're in a pretty big mess. There's no doubt about it. I actually got involved in politics in the early 70s. When Nixon made this announcement about getting off the gold standard, he put on a huge import tariff. He put in wage and price controls. And then he announced to the world, we're all Keynesians now, which meant that we all believed in this liberal Keynesian economic policy. And boy, I thought, this is horrible. This is going to lead to, you know, a lot of trouble. But the point of his statement was that Democrats generally are accused of being liberal on economic policy, and they're Keynesians, not free market people. And he said, we're all Keynesians now, which meant the country had changed. Not the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, but the whole country. And this came about because it was taught in our schools. We were taught, I was taught, many of us in this room were taught, only interventionist economics. You know, there you have to have a Federal Reserve. I happen to have come to the conclusion, I don't even think we need a Federal Reserve at all.